This is Robert Mardlacci, the Mindshare Learning Report, Canada's Learning and Technology e-magazine. And welcome to This Week in Canadian EdTech, very special edition as we're here with last year's winners of the Schools of the Future Challenge on the eve of launching this Friday. We have Miss Kamala Rambaran, a teacher at McBurk Public School, and along with her colleague, Ms. Zelia Capitao Tavares, who's a past winner as well as a team on the inspiration, the impact, and tips to enter. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'm so impressed. I reviewed your submission from last year, and I almost feel like you did not skip a beat with keeping your kids engaged, whether you were online or in class. It was a challenging year, but through some of your project-based learning, your McMurk Business Day, your design challenges, there's a lot to unpack there, and you seem to have a recipe for success. But that hasn't. It comes with years of experience and collaboration with as teaching partners and with students as part of the ecosystem and working as teams as well.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all of that, what you said, absolutely. And I think it started with the students. I mean, I had an amazing group of grade 6 students who just wanted a year of normalcy, we put those in quotes, and they just wanted to keep on going. And as we kind of talked about before, what I did last year consciously was look at projects on a long-term basis and did more depth and breadth of the projects rather than shorter projects, so the students could dig deeper into topics, figure out the cross-curricular connections, embedding, the UN SDGs, the design thinking process, and having them really think of themselves as global citizens, locally and globally, to then make better connections in their learning. And it seemed to work.
Amazingly it worked, I think, and you're being very, very humble. And Celia, talk to me about the year it's been so far and how the kids are doing.
I think the students are just excited that we've been together as a cross community of learners. We are in person, and although we have shifted from in person to remote at different times of the year, they appreciate that their continuity is happening in their learning, and a lot of the strategies and the relationships that we're building in our class community in person continues when we were in remote, and then continues when we're back in again. They're really excited what we're going to do for the next 3 months, right? So we've been laying down the foundation and building all these strategies and relationships and partnerships virtually, and you want to see where it can go and what opportunities are ahead of us, even with the pandemic procedures adjusting, and what opportunities may present itself in the weeks ahead.
What I admire about your approach, and you both, I believe, have master's degrees in education from Boise, U of T. Um, you really go beyond the call of duty in challenging the kids to take ownership of the learning and to become independent learners is part of the kind of recipe for success that you've built over your years of teaching. We won't say how many, but you did win. It's our 13th year of the Schools of the Future Challenge this year, and you won 12 years ago. We were at your school, and we hope to visit when we were permitted to celebrate your successes and share some of the learning and how and what the kids experienced, and to see it in action. And along with that, you got a few prizes along the way that hopefully have helped. We've given away over $1 million in prizes in that time.
Yeah, I mean, what was awesome to me, and I mean, we spoke about this earlier this school year, was the front row sound system. And for me, that's been a game changer. Um, oh my gosh, I can't remember the gentleman's name that came to the school to set it up back in August. But what I said to him was that
Scott.
Scott, yes, thank you, lovely Scott, was that every class should be outfitted with something like this because accessibility for some students should be for every student. And the ability for me to amplify my voice and not shout at the students for them to hear me, mask or no mask, allows them to engage in the learning, hear each other. And the sound field system it just kind of it hugs the room, as I like to say. And I'm not having to articulate or use the upper volumes of my voice, therefore at the end of the day saving it. So for me, that was my favorite part
Amazing.
of the prize pack this year. Um, and the students appreciate it too.
Amazing. Talk to me about remote learning. I mean, there's a couple of quotes that you infused from students, and so they really adapted. But you were mindful of how you engage the kids, and you really, as you said, it was we were preparing that offline, online. It didn't matter. You just had to, you approached it in the same way, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of didn't want to skip a beat. You kind of wanted to ease them in. So at the beginning of the school year, it was bringing out that tech and getting them used to getting onto Google Classroom, using all those different tools. So when and if that transition happened, that seamlessness of them learning online was a little bit more, seamless and like they felt more comfortable and safe to learn. Um, sorry, I'm just looking. This is like last year, and it's so amazing to see
Yeah,
you guys.
surprise. I
No,
wanted to
I
share
know,
your
and
project
especially
submission
oh,
because
absolutely,
there's so much you captured. It's an artifact of a
yeah,
very important period, one of the most transformational
yes.
periods in our lives, and you so elegantly submitted the project that captured all the learning, and so it's memory lane, and hopefully a positive one for you and Zelia, looking at what you accomplished with the kids.
It really was. And when I asked the students, I think it was back in late April, beginning of May, when we decided that it was Zelia actually working as well and calling me up. She goes, you really need to try this and we've got to do this. And so the next day I went online and I said, look, guys, there's this opportunity, but everything you're about to do or may be able to do, none of it you're going to really benefit from because my grade sixes move on to a new school.
Right.
And so we talk about the value of paving it forward
Yes,
and
of
paying it
course.
forward. And so it wasn't even as soon as I said that, there wasn't a hesitation from one member of my community. They were like, let's do it. So we kind of let go of some other stuff we were doing that week, showed them the contest rules, and then said, hey, where do you want to help out? So we got the students involved on what parts they wanted to showcase.
So yeah, I love the STEM kits. I mean, that showed personalization, and to pull that off, I know a lot of schools didn't have access to these tools. And then the Girls Who Game was another initiative. I mean, this project, I mean, the submission was packed with uh, so many challenges, and this is one of my favorite is the McMurk Business Day, which I've been honored to be a part of, where you've invited me to interview the kids for positions which they were applying for. Let's talk about this one, Zelia, and the inspiration behind this particular one.
We always talk about creating authentic learning experiences for students, and this is an opportunity where students can bring in some of their creativity, their innovative thinking and critical thinking around the problems they want to solve, but it's also STEM inspired. So, how do we bring in those elements together, design a product or a service? So, it's part of that service learning that they're doing and giving back to the community as well through this entrepreneurship project. And I think we're going into our 18th or 19th year with this project, Ms.
19,
Roman. So it's,
19.
Amazing.
and it has
Amazing.
grown over the years. So it doesn't look anything like it did in its first few years because the students help inform what we need, what we could do better, making community partnerships happen, and bringing in those mentorships like yourself coming in and working with our students. Those are very valuable experiences for our students. And it also gives them an opportunity to hear from experts, but also from hearing those experts informing their decisions and the choices that they're making so that when it's time for them to have this center stage in any way, big or small, that they feel proud, that they can speak to their learning and see the contributions they've been making within our school community and beyond.
What fascinates me is what grade level are these kids doing their own startups as teams?
Yeah, I taught grade 6 last year, so they were just turning 12. And honestly, like the projects that came out last year were on par with anything we have ever done before. They created business plans and financial plans, and they went through the design thinking process. I mean, with the restrictions of COVID last year, did we have a big event where they could sell their products to a full community? No. But what they did was they relied on their local, because last year, we would keep to our own social circles. They then took to their social circles and be like, hey, we are trying to promote mental health. We are selling masks that we design. Do you want to buy a mask? So with a message of positivity or talking about inclusivity. So, yeah, I was so proud of them last year.
Well, and here's a great quote from one of the students: preparing for business day, I learned how to work collaboratively with others to get work done effectively and finish group tasks. It also taught me how to persevere when you hit a hurdle, to move on from it and not let it hold you back. That is such a poised, thoughtful
I
statement
know.
from grade six kids. I mean, how do you top that? It's so the impact. Kudos to you for the impact. And talk to me about kids who have gone through this journey with you and them coming back years later. What kind of impact are you seeing on these kids? Because this is life changing. This is one of those, TSN moments that you never forget.
I know one of the more immediate ones that we hear from our students is the preparation for their job interviews and how to compose a resume to
Incredible.
highlight their contributions and highlight what they bring to the table. And then just even taking part in those interviews. Like you said yourself, you've come in and interviewed the students. So going through those experiences and opportunities for them to reflect and build upon has helped them in high school to apply to specialty programs, to apply to their first part-time job, to apply to these environments where they have to stand up for themselves and sell themselves, but sell themselves with pride, right? And not sell themselves short, more importantly.
One of
No.
the greatest challenges I had in coming in to do that interview process was seeing the kids sitting on a bench outside the door, all dressed up. And it was like a Kodak moment. And they had their little scripts, their notes, and they were so serious about it. And the answers that they gave me were like quality answers that you would get from high school and university graduates. So when you give kids agency, talk to me about that. That's what teachers need to realize, and parents, that when you give kids agency, the potential is untapped.
Oh, agency, the choice, the voice, the ability to, risk take. And as Elle said, to honor who they are and to believe in themselves. I mean, I just heard from a former student, like they went into marketing because of being in like, I don't know if it was directly related, but
Right.
she was part of the marketing team in grade 5 and in grade 6. She was in marketing in grade 5. In grade 6, she became a manager. And fast forward 12 years later, graduated with a marketing degree from Dalhousie and then moved forward
Wow.
and now is marketing at a company in the US. So it's agency of voice and giving them choice and having
Right.
them feel that they're making a difference.
And,
because
and
none of the
no,
profits that these businesses make come back to them. So all of that work for like 5 or 6 months, they are giving it to organizations that they completely believe in. From
amazing. And
phones,
then on
right?
top of all these activities and girls who game, and you have design challenges that you also incorporated into your teaching day.
Yeah, I love looking at this. I haven't looked at it in a year, so thank you. Um, they love the design challenges because you put out a scenario that is based on the UN SDGs or embedded in real life situations, and they kind of just run with it from making cars that will be more eco friendly to designing homes that will be more energy efficient. um, we just built back in December cubes that represent who they are as people. And then when we went to remote learning, they used that cube as inspiration to hold on to why they're so special.
And you
What
So,
could
I
see,
also,
sorry, I was
sorry,
just
go
going to
ahead.
jump in. What you could see there's that some of these were done in person. And when the school closures happened last year, it continued when they were at remote learning. And so, again, it goes back to building those relationships, setting down those opportunities to respect failure, to take risks, so that when they were in their homes, they could continue that and trust that they had the support system there. They had access to all their materials, resources online, which is great. And Kel, I want to say a shout out to you. Like, by spending the time teaching how to use the tools, that the students would have a repertoire to choose from that they can leverage to best communicate their learning and share their learning is evident throughout the submission that you put in last year.
I think the sharing piece really resonates here as we, prepared for this conversation and surprised you with actually sharing your submission, and the transparency and the storytelling. It also reinforces, and the co-learning that comes out of it is so powerful, isn't it?
oh yeah, there's a transition that happens in the year, and as a teacher, you can't wait for it. Where you're leading the class to where it flips, where the students are leading themselves, and you just are sitting back, and you're kind of watching the show. And when they need you, they know you're that anchor. They can come.
Right.
They're ready to like take ownership of that learning and support one another and make choices about what they want to learn, how they want to learn, and then just run with it.
So reflect back on, you said 18 years ago you launched the first McBurk business day. What was the inspiration of that? How did you guys think about doing? And I'm sure you got some pushback from colleagues, if not the principal as well. Like, what are you doing having these kids start a business?
I think, Mr. Armand, you and I, Cameron, we came from different starting points, right? Because I was new to McMurray School community. My inspiration was from a teacher who's now an administrator. I'll always give a shout out to Miss Julia Carter, where I saw her modeling something like this in back when I was teaching at Lawrence Heights Middle School. Miss you all, and then coming into McMurray, trying to tinker around with this, and it kind of started like a club, when we were tinkering, and they were like, no, this has so much potential as a class program. And then Ms. Raman, came across like, what are you doing? Well, I kind of have. You could share your part, and then we kind of said, why can't we do this together? Let's look at the curriculum connections that we could tie in, and then each year we just built upon it.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Amazing.
my inspiration came from like I watched my sister do this project in high school, and I don't know if it was similar, but I remember her. She was a business student, and loved business, and she built things, and she had a business concept and a plan. And then I took those ideas because she's younger than I am, and I was starting to teach, and so tinkering with the ideas, then met Cell, and we had these similar ideas, and so at the time I was teaching, I think grade 1 or 2, and Zell was teaching grade 6, and it didn't matter. We have Zell and I have similar philosophies and ways that we want our students to learn or experience things. and we joined forces, and it's worked out beautifully.
I think it's a
Amazing.
big part of building those work relationships with educators in your building. I think what Cam
Right.
and I
It's
found
that.
as teaching partners is so important. But more importantly, we're not afraid to fail. And so because we have each other
Right.
there as a support system, as a soundboard for our ideas, we also back each other up that if it fails, what do we do? What do we learn from this?
Right,
And
because
where do
you
we
learn
go
from
from here?
failure, right?
Yeah.
I love this quote from one of the students. The design challenges helped grow my imagination and made me have more success with ideas both in class and remotely. Like how this seeing these quotes, it must be so rewarding and inspiring to both of you in your efforts, especially the last couple of years, because
Oh,
the media, the mainstream media, was really down on online learning and remote learning, and you proved that it was uh, it was doable. You could be successful at it.
yeah, I mean, was it tough? Absolutely. Was it hard to get them engaged? Absolutely. But as I said, just slowing things down and giving them moments to dig deeper into the topics, and they have to buy into it. So there was a lot of like selling on my part, and they had to buy into that the learning was going to be as valuable. And so many educators have done such an amazing job in doing this. And I think you're right. I don't think we got the credit that we deserved as an education profession on what we did during remote learning. But the kids have come through stronger, not only in my class, but all the classes across Ontario.
Positivity and growth mindset. How important
Oh, it's
if you're
it's
going into education.
huge, huge. I mean,
Which
go
I mean,
ahead,
Casey,
Sal.
we're also very fortunate that when we were doing remote or virtual, we were focused in one form of providing instruction and community learning.
Right,
Uh, this may be a very different conversation if it was a hybrid model, because that's two different models. And I don't want to,
right.
shine a light saying it was all great. We worked through it, we supported each other, and that was really important. But again, it helped that we had our classroom. If it was in person, we were in person.
Right.
If we were remote or virtual, that's what it was. So our
Eh,
attention wasn't split, and it allowed us to maintain those relationships and supports. We feel, because that was our circumstance, uh, with a little more grace, because we could direct our attention appropriately in those settings.
and of course, your district support, and you were seconded, if I'm not mistaken, to support from a digital lead learner perspective
Yeah.
and help uh, upskill the teachers,
Yeah.
in and here you were, crisis learning, and you were called upon to step up and help because of your mastery in teaching and learning, infusing tech infused pedagogy, if you will.
Again, being part of a great team, that was part of the hybrid teacher digitally learner team, that was spectacular opportunity to build on our strengths and to provide supports to the district on leveraging technology to get the most out of those learning experiences. And that was a privilege to be a part of that.
Well, let's fast forward, and by the way, I wish upon the two of you a book one day. I know you're very busy, but usually when I wish a book upon someone, they end up writing it. So, call me a fortune teller, but if you will, but or a future. What is the term I'm looking for? Futurist. I really see the potential in you harnessing all that knowledge to help others, and you have. It just I'm thinking of a different format. Everyone's writing a book these days and capturing some of those aha moments that really help others. So, how do you feel about that?
There's always opportunities for sharing, right? That's just another forum. I will take your kind words, though, so thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Kamala.
Yeah, I agree with Sal. Thank you so much. And I'm looking at the new challenge, And I am so excited that the UN SDGs have been embedded
Yeah.
into
Well,
the challenge.
you
Such an
you
awesome idea.
you get credit for inspiring that, along with Dell and Girls Who Game, and these are the past winners as well from Winnipeg. That the teacher uh, Melissa
Burns.
Burns
Yep.
had her students their challenge was to recreate their school in Minecraft, which they did so elegantly. And the superintendent, upon seeing the video submission, said, "I'm sharing this with the architects," and they were middle school students. So incredible learning. They did they explored LEED certification and what that takes. Be mindful of the environment. Infused a vegetable garden and uh, a mindfulness area in the school, learning commons at daycare. So the superintendent was so impressed. He said, "I'm sharing this with the architects
Nice.
for their renovation." So real life learning examples. Um, Mark Prensky, who coined the phrase digital immigrant and digital
Native.
native. That's right. I interviewed him recently, and he talked about kids. His newest book talks about challenges, but uh, challenges that are purposeful, that are real life uh, examples of what they might experience in the future. And you nailed that as a team. And so hence we want kids to, for our 13th Schools of the Future challenge this year, um, submit challenges, teach for teachers to challenge their students to solve real world problems within their school community. that's
Nice.
that's that's the challenge for the year. What do you think of that concept?
Oh, I love it. As soon as I saw the UN SDGs, you took the contest to a whole new level. And I think students are going to have a really great time unpacking that with their teachers and then coming up with something spectacular. So, yay, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it's we crowdsource and we rely on input from our sponsors, who you see here. Vast array of prizes this year, makerspace components as you got this past year, and we look forward to visiting. And any tips for teachers who uh, are thinking about perhaps entering? You know, I love how you weave these challenges into the curriculum and make it relevant for you as it is relevant for the kids.
Absolutely. I say get your students involved because if they're buying into it, then they're probably thinking of ideas that you haven't even thought of. So introduce the challenge to them, get them excited about participating, and yeah, hear their input. And I think they'll be able to support you in submitting an awesome video or podcast, or I don't know what the different formats are this year,
Yeah.
blog post. Yeah, but get them involved.
I would say
Final thoughts to share, Azalea?
I was going to add to that. Just your educators are already doing so many wonderful things in their class communities, and sometimes we're quick to dismiss all the amazing things we're doing because we get caught up with the busyness and the documentation. But there's already great things happening, whether you're sharing on social media or not. That doesn't discount the amazing learning, creativity, collaboration, communication that's happening in our class communities. So allow that opportunity to showcase, shine a light on some of the great things that's happening, and take a chance, see where it takes you.
With that, thank you so much for your time and inspiration and sharing. You've been so kind and generous. I'm grateful for that. I know it's been a long day for you, and don't want to get home to your families. Thank you again.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Robert, for the
Good luck,
opportunity.
everyone.
That was Kemla Rambaran and Zelia Capital Tavares, teachers at McMurk Public School in the Toronto District School Board, past winners of the Mindshare Canadian Schools of the Future Challenge. And this year we're launching on March 25th in a couple of days officially. And so be sure to check out www.mindsharelearning.com to learn more. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.